Kevin, how are you feeling today?
Well, I'm doing well this week. It's definitely a week of learning, and today more of that. Really connecting. I've been working personally on connecting to my deeper emotions. In the past, I've I've had a little issues with like judging emotions. Like I want to feel more good emotions and not so much the negative. And so I've
Okay.
been working on that, and that's continuing today, and just adding some practices to my life to make sure I'm moving and connected to my body. Uh, so that's where I find myself today.
Okay. That's not something that I usually hear about, mainly because I think, um, at least from my experience, people might be afraid to look into their emotions, the positive and the negatives, and then I don't find that most individuals reflect on how they're feeling, what they're feeling, and why. So,
hmm
how do you get in touch with your deepest and most inner emotions, positive and negative at this stage?
Well, I'm married, so my wife. So I don't know if you've heard of human design at all, but
Not really, no.
okay,
Like to learn as well.
j-
So,
just generally. So I'm in human design. I'm a generator. A generator is someone that uh, has a lot of like our purpose is to raise the energy of the room. We have a lot of energy. Uh, and my wife is a manifester, which if you get into human design, this is like this tiny little iceberg
okay.
here, but she they're meant to initiate and to like start things. And uh, so however you want to define her, she senses anytime I have these heavy emotions. So she's kind of been the one and that's been like, hey, you've got this, something you're not dealing with. Um, and so she's kind of got sick of that, and so I'm picking the work up.
Okay.
Mm.
So
So
you sort of like work in a duo in a way. So
yes, we do. Yep.
you have a support system of sorts that can sense where you are in need, in a
Yes.
way, and your wife in this case can help you go in depth of your in emotions. Um,
Yes.
Kevin, how, if I may ask, how come you arrived to the conclusion at this stage to um, focus more on the positive emotions rather than the negative emotion? What was the process?
Wow. So uh, I've done a lot of work, but I started. So my first podcast was an addiction podcast, and I was an addict, and I worked in tech for 20 years, and so I was very focused on the hustle, and
Okay.
you know. Uh, Providing for my family. I have six boys.
Wow.
Together, her and I, we have six boys. And so, that was my focus and kind of my first life, quote unquote. But then as we got closer to 40, it was really apparent to me like she was getting, she was helping me see that I wasn't connected, that I wasn't really interested, I wasn't connecting to the rest of my life other than work, right? I was just like a workaholic. And so uh, through a period of time, I got a coach and I got someone that was helping with energy healing, and then they mentored me into that's what I do now, right? Like that's my life is I help people in coaching and even in energy healing. So they became my mentors, um, and I got really interested in like why am I the way I am, and I mean if to answer your question a little deeper, like in hypnotherapy, I found out that I came into the world with this feeling of like the world is dangerous, right?
Okay.
And so from that very young age, nothing my parents even did, or nothing. I didn't have a dangerous childhood. Like it's kind of silly, right? But it was like
Hmm.
very much there needs to be judgment and safety and protection from a young age, right? And then reinforcing that. And so, yeah, that's why. That's the real reason why, I guess.
Okay. Is this the act one that you talk about and
Yeah,
that you shared as well? Okay. I'm trying to connect the dots as well
yeah, yeah.
And it's very interesting because, on the contrary, I will ask, why did you label it Act One? Um,
Mm.
what was?
Well, well, just to, well, we also talk about having relationship 2.0. Like I think there's a time where you want to just acknowledge and be thankful for the something that's in completion, right? It was there, and we appreciate that part of our life. And I don't know, maybe a little bit of a joke, right? Like it's
Mhm.
certainly not like you have one life and then halfway through you have another life,
Yes.
right? It's more like Act One, where it's kind of like, okay, we've got the content out here. Um, this is the plot. This is what's going on. This is the potential, and now we call it in. I suppose it's a little bit of just English culture, like or American culture, like Act Two, right? Like,
Okay.
okay, here we're gonna go into the next phase of life.
Okay. I mean, it's very interesting because it made me reflect as well as I was um, uh, doing some research on the work that you do. Is I mean,
Hmm.
it's very interesting, and it made me think about how sometimes in life we just shift gears. I mean, we have
Hmm.
phases in life as well, and some of them are distinct. Like, for example, when we finish high school, right? So we have the distinct phase when
Yeah.
it's ended, and now we're entering the world of work.
Hmm.
No one talks about it in a way, and but it's a totally different transition and a difficult one as well because we are
Hmm.
fresh out of college or university, and we are now new to the place of work, and so that can be also a
Hmm.
chapter in our life. So I think in our life, or perhaps in a logical way, it is made out of many chapters into one
Yes.
book, the book of life in a way, our own story though. So it made me think about that as well. I think I think it's very powerful to put a label into it as well
Hmm.
because we change
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I think about uh, well, if you study like the energetic body at all, there's um, there's definitely a maturity that happens between
Mm,
38 and 52, and there's some changes that happen in your energy fields, and I don't remember off the top of my head what they are, but I just remember that there's a shift. We receive some parts of our energetic body, and they mature more than they were before. So it's almost
mhm,
like we're calling in that new chapter. We're saying,
mhm,
um, all right, we're ready for what's next.
mhm. So when it comes to your journey, Kevin, I mean, you shared that you worked a lot.
Hmm.
Then you found a mentor who guided you as well, and then you become yourself a mentor and a coach.
Hmm.
Who are your target audience?
Yeah. So today my wife and I work together in our business called Belief Crew, and we work with mostly with people that are interested in like that act two, so to speak, uh, which surprisingly so far has been people in their 50s actually,
Okay.
who are not, that's not entirely true, but like a lot of them have been in their 50s and said, I don't, sometimes they'll say to us like, I don't know, it's just something about you guys, I want to work with you. uh, my wife gets that a lot. She's fun to be around. And then other times it's like, okay, I know I've tried this before and I've tried this and I've had some success. I'm thankful for that. But yet there's still this part of my calling, let's say, that I'm not stepping into fully. And
Mm,
that's what we're working with. So let me go back a little bit. So
sure.
in 2006, both of our moms, well, 2006 to 2007, both of our moms died of cancer. And so, and Jamie's mom was mostly Italian and just very creative. And her and her husband had a beautiful business, actually multiple businesses together. They were very successful. Um, but in that process of her last part of her life, we got to some insights. She shared with us like what had been going on in their life, and we got to understand that we need to take care of our mind and our spirit. And I think that's something that we learned from her, and then we kept digging into it, right? And so
Hmm.
success, if we define it as money or as land or a house or whatever, this is a maybe I would say a fairly American problem, right? Like
Hmm.
we're we come from, a lot of us at least come from this conquest, get more type
Hmm.
mentality, right? And
Yeah.
so growing up in America, that was part of our story and part of Jamie's work in her family business with her dad and with her mom. And so anyway, as we move forward with what she had told us, we started to pay attention uh, to that inner work, right? And like, are we doing that? Are we happy with where we're at? And
Hmm.
that road of discovery is what led us to what we do now.
Seems like to me it's asking the right questions to yourself. I mean, are
Yeah.
we happy now? Are we happy with what we're doing? Are we happy with our trajectory? I think those are very good questions. And what's interesting about your approach is that you do it individually, but you do it as a couple as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's a different kind of power. Um, uh, and obviously, I think that's very, I suppose that's very beneficial for your relationship as well, even when it comes to, you mentioned that you have six boys. That's quite a huge responsibility as well. So, I mean, you need to be good at making decisions and sharing responsibilities of sorts. So,
Yeah. I mean,
so yes,
yeah,
go ahead.
we've definitely been transparent in our podcast about that. It's not. I would say that we've learned a lot from mistakes, right? Like it's not like we went into we went into childhood or to parenthood like everyone else without knowing much, right? And we made a lot of mistakes, and then also we kind of had this three kids together, um, with 2 years apart, each of them.
Okay.
And then we had a 7 year gap because our our mom, the grandmas died, right? And so it's kind of like, oh my goodness, this is a whole nother level to have kids without grandmas, right?
Yeah.
And and then we were like, oh, we feel like we would like to have more, like we're called to have more. And so we had three more. Um, and so that there's an interesting thing that's happened as part of that, of really reflecting. Having six kids is unique in that you can see they're all so different, right? Like
Yeah, I
they
can
just have
imagine.
so
Yeah.
much of that is different. I think that it's just been such a privilege to witness the difference of each of them. And so that's what helped us to start diving into, like, for example, our fifth one. He he is so intelligent. He was just the best little baby, like so um, peaceful, easy to put to sleep. He was just like, wow, we finally made it, right? Like I guess we deserve this after
Heads
after
up.
four.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when he got a little older, we would ask him to do or tell him to do something, I think, and that was the issue, and he wouldn't do it, and we're like, what's going on here? Because you don't seem like. But what we learned is like he was very ask assertive, which means like he loved questions, and when
Okay.
we started to ask him to do something and ask him about his feelings and ask him things to get him to process, the light bulb came on. Like he didn't hear us at 5 years old on any of our statements. Like, can you take the garbage out? Anything like that.
Yeah.
But as soon as we phrased it as a question, he just lit up and he got it and he was there with us, right? And
It's
so
very interesting.
we started to understand more of the gift part of this, like just that we all have our own spiritual gifts. What are they and how do they work together? And that became more and more of our focus and diving into understanding each other in the family.
Okay. Kevin, what is this gift analogy? Because I know that you use it quite a lot in a way. And can you just explain for the listeners and the viewers as well what do you mean by this gift?
Hmm. So, I mean, where I come from, I think, that we are spiritual. We're human, obviously, but we're very spiritual. And so thinking about our gifts as not just natural gifts, right? Like we have, some of us run faster, some of us are more athletic, and some of us have better dexterity or whatever. So
Hmm.
we have our natural gifts, but then what are our spiritual gifts? And like there's certainly people that have gifts of healing, of being able to hear what maybe someone else needs. Gifts of prophecy. I mean, we see this in our ancient texts, but we don't today often know how to find it or know how to understand what it
Mm.
is for us, right? And so for us, it's just been an exploration. There's one personality test that focuses on it. It's called the Working Genius, and
Okay.
it's become very popular uh, in the U.S. It basically talks about the gifts that we bring to work, and it talks about the process of work from conception to maybe the ideas that are needed to get to a place of implementation, the discernment that is needed, and then like galvanizing, like rallying people to the work, and then enablement, like how we help each other do the work, and then those that complete the work. And so that's one option. Um, in different cultures, I think there's probably different approaches to this. But then also we can just go just from a straight spiritual standpoint. Like, my first gift is to motivate people. That's why I
Okay.
do podcasts. One thing I just like to get out there and say, hey, I messed up a lot of things, and I still, we live in Mexico now. We're living the life that we dream of. As part of that process, we let go of a big house and all the stuff that went with it, and gave it away and sold some of it, and so that was a process. But
Mhm.
it's been very good for us. It's been very good for me, and so that's my first gift, is to motivate people, and then secondly, my second gift is to heal, to help people heal, including myself, and to a certain extent, I think we all have all the gifts. Um, I just feel like maybe we have some stronger ones that are just like we can all of us that have two legs can pretty much run, right?
Mhm.
Like we have a lot of the same gifts, and what's fun though is to find out within your family or within a group what the gifts are, and start to recognize, like, oh wow, I always wondered why you did that, and that explains that, and
Mhm.
then start to share and collaborate with those gifts.
Brilliant. I'm learning a lot. So this is very alien to me. So I definitely need to do some digging,
Yeah,
especially
no problem.
the the test that you mentioned. I mean, I'm quite interested in these kind of things, so I'll definitely do some more research on that. Kevin, regarding your work, I mean, and trying to link
Hmm.
with the concepts that you've mentioned as well. How, uh, or let me rephrase it a little bit. How, what was the lesson that fatherhood told you that you're using heavily in the work that you do with the people that come to your services?
Yeah, I think you know we're all. I think the thing that I did the didn't do a good job with my older kids was like understanding that they are natively a loving person, and like somehow when I the way I grew up is more like, um, well, if you follow all the rules then you'll be a good person, right? And
Okay.
so um, in my second group of kids, the last three, and I'm not saying like my older kids are amazing, and I'm not saying like some of the hardship that we have, it defines us and it pushes
Yeah.
us, right? So I'm not trying to say, excuse me, that there's anything. They've done really well, and we've been able to talk through some of those things that I wasn't as good at with them, um, and get them some help with that. But also with the last three, we've just been able to see, like even from a very young age, how they were different, and how that different wasn't wrong, and that just love them for like who they are.
Mhm.
They have they have they have understanding each person for who they are and teaching them to love themselves. I think is what I've learned the most, and to see the good that they are,
Hmm.
without parenting, without influence, and certainly that our parenting style has been more supportive and more like, I mean, we're there for anything that they want to step into, anything they want to learn. But today we do what we call soul school, which is we're helping them become future entrepreneurs, if that's what they want. We support them in anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to school and get a university degree and all that kind of stuff. It's we're focused on what is the thing that you want to do the most, and obviously that's going to change from
Yeah.
8 to 20. I mean, we're not saying you've got to decide now or anything, but just like explore that, like figure it out and do what you want, and we'll support you in that, whether it's purchasing things for you or it's getting the right teacher or whatever you need.
Hmm. I mean, in practice, how do you balance between given the freedom of choice and laying out the options, perhaps the pros and cons as well, but then actually letting them make the mistakes that they need to make in order for them to learn? How do you find that balance?
Yeah. Um, well, there's a book that was written. The book is named Summerhill. It's about uh, a school in the middle of the UK, United Kingdom, and in the 50s, so a long time ago. And they talked about, they had a lot of kids there that were challenged in the traditional boarding schools. And
Okay.
so the parents were just like, at the end of their wits, they're like, I don't know, they won't follow the rules, blah, blah, blah. So they bring them to the school. And so the book discusses exactly what your question is like, and what I would say, I mean, where I came from at the beginning of this cycle is like, oh, well, I'll kind of test this out, but we still need to have this discipline and do all this. But what you understand over time is that the idea of parenting, like from a place of a set of rules to protect people and keep them safe,
Hmm.
it could be just as flawed as having no rules. Like,
Yes.
there's really no way to decide that 100%. So I think what we've done is just kind of put it out there. So what we started to do is have family meetings, and we each had a, like, we could talk about whatever, like, we could talk about the dishes or whatever, right? And but we gave them the same voting rights as we had. And we
Okay.
started to experiment with that and see how they would hold themselves accountable. And what we found is that they were better at holding us accountable and themselves accountable than we were. And so what I mean is by that is that they would implement punishments between themselves
Themselves. Okay.
that was more that was harsher than what I would have done. And so that became our structure. And then eventually we didn't really need to have family meetings. And we rarely have them today unless we have some big thing that we need to do. Because you discover what you want together. I mean, we still, it's hard to explain this. You almost have to just experience it. I was absolutely blown away by the process.
Hmm.
I felt like as a dad that I didn't really know how to be a dad, but yet this process showed me that I can be more of a mentor, right? Like just more of someone that talks through things with them. And it just freed me so much with all the stress, right? Like of course I'm still in charge of providing for them, bringing the food in, that kind of stuff. Like we don't share that, but like um
That
it just took
virginity.
yeah,
No.
it took so much of the stress of the little things out. When you give people when we gave them freedom, they started to be clearer about what they wanted. And when we're supporting them in such a way that they understand what they want and they communicate it. Can you imagine how powerful that is? Like that takes a
Mm.
lot of the challenges out of the relationship. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have like I would say most of the conflict in our house is between my wife and I. You know,
Okay.
like we don't have conflict with the kids. In fact, they sometimes give us advice and say like, "Why are you arguing?" You know, like that kind of stuff. So, um, anyway,
It seems to me that y- your the way is like that you're suggesting is involving them in the process as well.
yeah,
So the process of learning and accepting the fact, because I sense that there is some ownership in that, in the sense that hey, we're learning parenthood with you as well, because first of all, as you mentioned earlier in the podcast, that every one of your children is unique like everyone else. So
yeah,
there is, everyone interprets things in a different way, and you're trying to champion on that uniqueness
yes,
as well. And you're showing an element of vulnerability as well. And listen, we don't have all the answers, but we'll explore it together. So there is an element
yes,
of engagement as well, which creates accountability.
yep, yeah. I mean, our kids don't really like living in Mexico. They've
Okay.
been pretty vocal about that, but they know that their mom does, and I do too. But I mean, I would say she loves it the most, and I think they like are so good at recognizing how much she's given to all of us, you know, and and how much she needs this, um,
Hmm.
and then and then just yeah, they're just amazing human beings when we let them be who they are,
Hmm.
and rarely do I have to correct them. Like I'm most of the time what I'm doing with correction is just more helping them see that the way they're looking at themselves is doesn't need to be as harsh as what they're
Okay.
thinking, right? It's more like like I have one child who's a little overweight and he's really hard on himself about that. And so just helping him remember like, hey, your grandpa was overweight and he look at how he was. He grew up to be a big contractor and he was
Mhm.
completely fine and this is just a period of your life, you know. So things like that more than, oh, you're doing this wrong. I mean, you know, maybe
Mhm.
it's I'm sure that there's other, you know, we're coming from a fairly strict conservative type upbringing, and nothing against our parents. We love and honor them. Um, but like, I just don't think that was the right fit for us and for our kids. And so
Okay.
I'm sure that some of what I'm talking about is done in many other ways
Mhm.
in other approaches of raising kids. So
Mhm.
not
I
like it's
mean,
unique.
I mean, some of the go-to phrases that I use even when I'm delivering training or sessions with people. I believe that there are many good ways of doing things and there are many bad ways of doing things.
Hmm.
Sometimes, if we're speaking between me and you, both our methods are good. It's just the methodology that we use or the route that we took fits more our needs, our desires, perhaps, and our
Hmm.
way of thinking. In a way, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that one of our approaches is better, but it works for us. Sometimes I think we're brought to think in a way that there's only one good way
Yeah.
of doing things. I don't think that is correct or
No.
accurate.
Yeah.
And I think very much goes with parenting. I'm not a parent myself yet, so I can't resonate on that
Hmm.
front, unfortunately. But I've been involved in youth groups, and I've had the honor and privilege to guide youngsters and speak to their parents as well. So
That's
at
cool.
least I can at least understand just a bit um, where you're coming from and the celebration of that uniqueness. And I mean, it's when you start involving young people, there is a delicate balance between appreciating what they do not know because might not be
Hmm.
they might not have
Yeah.
that awareness. You
Hmm.
want to empower that, but at the same time you want to guide them through what they don't know because they think they do but they don't, but you don't
Yes.
want to shut them down in a way. You want to encourage them and explore it with them as well.
Yeah.
And especially in your situation, I can imagine that there needs to be consensus in a way, but at the same time, an understanding and an appreciation that I can't always have it my way because we live in a house, an large household, and
Hmm.
there are other people with desires, interests, and and wishes in life as well. Not sure if that resonates with you and in your situation.
Yeah, I think one thing that um, that has helped is like there's such a family with just having boys. We maybe got spoiled a little bit too because um, like they're not really complicated, if you know what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
they don't bring a lot of emotion a lot of times. I mean, we have our emotional ones, but like most of the time they're really family oriented. Like they
Okay.
love each other, and I think that's maybe it came from their mom, but also just like in their genetics. Like they really appreciate each other, and so that does help. I think that culture really has helped because I see some of my oldest children. Um, I still have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old living with us, and I see them sacrifice a lot to take care of the younger ones, and they're doing that of their own volition usually, like they're
Mhm.
choosing to do that, and so. But I feel like especially the 18-year-olds. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't asked him too much, but I feel like he's seeing like this is my time to be with them, right? Like
Okay.
they've seen their older brother who's 22, 23 leave, and they've seen him miss the younger children. And so I feel like they appreciate it right now. Like, okay, I'm 18, 20. I know I'm not going to be around a long time. Maybe I will, but like it could be short, right? So
Mhm.
I'm going to appreciate it. So that helps.
And I mean, in a way, you have a helping hand as well because can the younger ones do not only have two role models, your wife and yourself,
Hmm.
but they also have their older brothers as well
Yes.
who can
Yep.
role model. So I think in a way that I think positively impacts
Yes.
the younger ones as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm a big fan. I mean, of a big family. I mean, it's not easy. Right? Like having one
For
child.
sure.
The way I say it is like one child is too many, and from there it gets better. Because
Okay.
like it's so hard when you like I think one and three are the hardest because
Hmm.
with one, um, they get everything they want, kind of, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
they don't understand like us oldest one. My wife and I are both the oldest. We
Hmm.
kind of have come from this feeling like, well, I'm alone and I'm the priority, right? And so, but then three, you're outnumbered, right? So um, that's a big adjustment. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, but from then on, I think it gets easier, honestly, because I mean, not that having a young child's easy, but after they get through that youngness, um,
Hmm.
it's just they start to support each other.
Hmm.
So
In practice, Kevin, how do you find yourself in this situation? Because you have a big family, you work as well, you have your own business with your wife. How do you find yourself in all of this?
how do I find myself? Um, well, I think that like the connection. So in my first career, the I was looking for something like fulfillment in doing and in results. And occasionally that happened, but a lot of times the results were short lived. I remember creating systems for companies that either barely used it or were, something changed and they're like, okay, we don't even need that. And it's like,
Mhm.
whoa, I just put 6 months of my life into that and
Yeah,
now it's gone. Like, and so that doesn't feel great, right?
yeah, for sure.
Um, so I feel like with our new, there's a couple things here. We're living in a culture that's not ours in Mexico. Um, so we're learning from, and we need help from
Yeah.
people that we barely can talk to. Like we have tutors and we're learning the language, but we're barely able. My wife had 5 years of Spanish, so she's a little better, but still, either one of us are barely able to
Yeah.
communicate. And so it's put us in a place that's very unique of I don't know, focusing inward on our family, right? And
Hmm.
focusing on each other in a way that's been really useful for this period of our lives. And I think that's part of why we're here.
Hmm.
So I feel like, to answer your question more directly, I've been getting a lot more out of the little things like cooking, um, you
Okay.
know, taking people places, driving, uh, in a different culture. Um, Very different driving in Mexico than it is in America. Like,
Okay.
well, a couple things I've noticed. One is something like in America where I grew up, we drive so much. Like we drive a
Long
long
distances, you
ways.
mean? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
long distances. And so when I come down here, I it took me a while to realize this, but like 9 months in or so, I was just like, wow, we're really not going that far, right? Like it feels like it takes 40 minutes. Some of it's traffic, but it's like we're not going as far. And also there's a different style of driving where there's a much more aggressive driving here than I would
Okay.
say in America. Um, but I've seen the benefits of that. Like accidents are not as prevalent. I feel like their response time is good, like well
Okay.
developed, right? Like
Okay.
excellent drivers, navigating a lot of craziness. Like sometimes just the variety of vehicles is so different, right? Here, so anyway, so yeah, a place of just appreciating learning. I love to learn.
Hmm.
Um, so there's just so many little things, so much less stress with with navigating that.
Yeah.
Whether it's being able to, I suppose having our own business helps too, where we
Yeah.
can take a day during the week. A lot of times we work more on the weekends. Not I shouldn't say more, but sometimes we'll work on the weekends and take a day during the week and go to
Okay.
the beach restaurant and snorkel or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
it's that feels good and very fulfilling, I would say, in this all these little things add up for me. They
Mhm.
mean something. Um, yeah.
And I can appreciate that there's a lot of learning as well because this seems like a carte blanche of sorts that you're in this all together in a new environment and navigating that new environment all together as well. So you start appreciating the nuances of life in a way and the simple things
hmm
as well that brings you together and it's a shared experience.
Yeah,
That's
I'm glad for your questions. I don't think about this very much, but I
okay.
think it's been very like little things like you have certain sauces, certain salsas, whatever, right, that you're used to. So sometimes when you find that, it's just such a great discovery because you
Hmm.
don't have access to it now.
It's
So
like
it's
you,
like it's like
a
it's
eureka
like the
moment.
whole yeah, I mean it's like the whole part, like why we choose to go into coaching or doing some type of growth
Yeah.
mode, right? Because we're actually kind of saying, I want to experience resistance. Like I
Yeah.
want to grow. I want to experience a little more pain, right? Like say I'm
Mm.
gonna work out, right? I want the benefit and we get it, and that's kind of like when you move to a different culture, that's a lot of it where you start to see little things that mean so much to you.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, so
So, just for me to understand better as well, Kevin, how is your work structure? I mean, your clients are mostly online, or you have clients in Mexico as well now? Because obviously that shift must have
mhm.
affected your business in a
Yeah,
way. I mean, it would affect mine because I'm based in Malta, and most of my clients are Maltese, and so we do a lot of in-person interactions.
yeah.
How did it affect the move? How did it affect your business?
So we were doing more remote
Okay.
before, and now we do more in person.
Wow. Okay.
So we really always wanted to be in person. So the fact that you're already doing in person is amazing. That's good.
Yeah.
I think there's just something. I appreciate the opportunity to do remote when you need it, but I just have, both of us, Jamie and I, have both come to value in person so much. And so we lived in a beautiful area in Wisconsin, but we just really didn't have people want to come and visit us, right? It was just kind of
Okay.
but when you say Mexico, like people can connect to that. and they're like, oh, okay, you're south of Playa del Carmen in a beautiful area where there's cenotes and there's the beach, and so they, at least Americans, like they can connect to the idea of coming down here.
Yeah.
You have experiences in the nature, and then work with us. So that has been working very well for us. And then I also travel to our clients, so I like travel. Jamie's not as much of a fan of it, but
Okay.
so I will, depending on how we structure how we're supporting them, I will travel to them and spend like a couple days with them, working in and on their business and their relationship or whatever is needed. And so I've appreciated that too because I love travel. It's been good for
Mm-hmm.
me,
I
but
mean,
short. So it's not like I'm a week away from the kids. Like
okay.
they can
So
handle
so
me. Yeah. No.
um, no, definitely, I agree with you. I mean, to me, having an online conversation or an online session, it's a plan B. In a way,
Mm-hmm.
if absolutely the in-person thing can't be done, in general, I do enjoy more from selfishly speaking, in a way, from an experience point of view. For me, it's more, I get more out of it if it is an in-person. So that's usually my go-to preference as well. I mean, in virtual, you can have more reach, so you can reach
Mm-hmm.
more people. You have a wider spectrum in a way. But I would also gladly welcome the opportunity to travel if I have to my
Mm-hmm.
clients. I'd rather have an in-person interaction as well. Go into a little bit more depth, Kevin. What is your typical? How does your typical program look like in terms
Mm-hmm.
of delivery for the clients? What does it look like?
So it's very typical. It's very aligned with our journey and what I described. Like we were searching for, like I feel like our parents really showed us that there there was more available, right? Like they set us up to, and maybe it's just partially who we are. Like both of us are just, we like to learn
Mhm,
and learn and experience new things, and so um, we we were looking for help, and we found some people that helped us along the way. But what we learned was that it was good to have a team. It was good, like it's good to have a coach. It's good to
mhm,
have someone that can help you let go of your limiting beliefs, to help you with. I mean, not that you can't do that with coaching, but we found it was nice for us to have a combination of things.
yeah.
Uh, Whether that's your massage therapist, your acupuncturist, maybe you do some uh, physical work, right? Like training, strength training, etc. So just kind of putting that all together was the sweet spot for us. And so we model some of that in what we do. And that Jamie is very strategy oriented. She's going to work on your business. She can heal, like she knows how to do it. She will help you with some of the limits that come up all the time just by talking. But
Mhm,
then she also likes to see other people like me or other healers help um, get past some of the emotion that might be there from trauma in the past, or some of the beliefs that systems that might no longer serve you anymore.
mhm. And your clients are from any level in the an organization. So, do you target a specific kind of audience? Let's say, business owner, specifically CEO, C-suite, or anyone who would like to embark on this journey?
Yeah, so we like to work with the CEO, with the business owner. We're really focused on entrepreneurs. We have had some interest from. It's happened that we've had worked with younger people
Okay.
in maybe like a mentor capacity. Sometimes even we just help them because they were in our network and we
Yeah.
just enjoyed working with them, right? Um, and we've had recently and a few other times where they've like gone to the owner and said, "Hey, you want to do a retreat with these guys?" Or you know, that's a proposal we're doing right now where a whole team is going to come to Mexico and be with Jamie, and we'll build out some experiences with that. And just like, I guess the idea behind all that is like get out of your business, get away from your normal, get away from what's comfortable, and just let. It's not that you necessarily have to have it super structured, like just let the difference speak to you. Like what's possible if we get out of our normal environment. You'll see different people step up, do more of what's needed to be done. Maybe you just have a whole shift, right? And so I would say most of the time we're working with the entrepreneurs, but depending on what they need, like some entrepreneurs are really good at leading. Some need more support with that, right? And so sometimes, depending on what the need is, we step in different ways.
Okay. And have you noticed some kind of pattern with the kind of support that entrepreneurs need during the journey?
Yeah, um, I think that we all need people that supplement the areas that we're not as strong at,
Hmm.
right? I think that more and more, I think that there are a lot of good things happening in companies, right? Like um, part of our need to just be social, it drives us to want to figure things out. And I think every time that we see a company that's really working, and there's certainly younger company, there's all kinds of different companies that are working, right? And they're accomplishing what they want. And so I think if you study them, you'd see there's a support structure. There's an acknowledgement that I really don't do well at that. There's a great book written by Patrick Lencioni. It's really one of my favorite books. He said he's written many books, business books. I highly suggest his
Okay.
writing because he writes fables. So he writes a story to demonstrate a point, and for me that's very helpful. But his most latest book is, the title is The Motive, and he says, I wish I would have wrote this book first, because he talks about the motivation behind our leadership is the most important. And he basically says, like, if your motive as a leader is to make your life easier and for you to just focus on your strengths, then you're likely have the wrong motivation to get to the top. So, although we want to be cognizant and aware of the areas that we are strong, technically we want to be using those strengths on behalf of others, right? And if that's not happening, then our motivation might not be in the right place.
Okay. Um, Something that it is I'm trying to connect the dots with is how we can capitalize on our strengths and at the same time be aware how our I know it's the wrong terminology, or at least I don't like to use it. Weaknesses
Mm-hmm.
is how they can get in the way. Because from my practice, I've noticed that there are two strands or two schools of thought. Either focus on your weaknesses so that they can hopefully become strengths, or
Mm-hmm.
focus on your strengths so that they
Yes.
overshadow your weaknesses. Those are the two main schools of thought in a way. First of all, what's your take on that?
I think that it's very valuable for us to learn to love who we are.
Hmm.
And then we start to see clearer. Like, because a lot of times in our humanity, we start to operate from fear, right?
Okay.
Like, I won't be safe if I don't have this much money in the bank, or I'm not safe if I don't have this type of a job, or whatever it is that we feel like will keep us safe. Now, if if you know you're in a dark alley and you hear something behind you, it would kind of be good to let that fear have a place in your body and be like, okay, this might not be good. I need to run, right? Like that's good.
Mhm.
But in our work life, usually fear doesn't pay off. what fear typically does is it brings to us what we're afraid of.
Mm.
So when we start to get more in touch with and understand our gifts and love who we are and understand that there's a goodness in us that we want to support, that process helps us to see the good in others because we recognize it. So
Yeah.
when we've done the work ourselves to learn how special we are and to overcome some of the reasons why the weaknesses are so strong, let's say, right? Because if I focus on my weaknesses and I create fear around that, like I want to stay away from that type of situation because I know that I'm not good at
Mm-hmm.
that particular thing, we tend to pile on and create more energy in that space instead of coming from the standpoint of, you know, that is not something I'm strong on, but I remember this person that can help me. And because I've done the work to understand that I have strengths and I value those strengths too, I'm not, I don't have to own every part of my life. I can share, I can be inclusive, and I can appreciate someone else that makes a mistake in my network, understanding they're also learning. And maybe I can even, give them a word of encouragement.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes we might not look back and see w- what we make out from the thing that we perhaps got wrong, because we don't have all the answers as we've
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
shared. We don't see, okay, what did I learn from this? Sometimes we are too harsh on ourselves and
Yes.
belittle ourselves as well. Um, so if you were coaching someone with having that belief or mindset in that present moment, how would you help them achieve clarity or perhaps peace with themselves?
Yeah. Well, usually if they've got something that they're hard on themselves, there's usually a reason that they're hard on themselves, meaning like some trauma in their past where they felt like they needed to be. Like a
Okay.
lot of times I work, say, with women entrepreneurs, for example, like they're hard on themselves because of the mistakes they made, right? Like a mistake with a relationship or something. And I try to help them reframe that a little bit. Like, okay, so is it possible that you needed that experience? Like, can we get to a place where we're forgiving ourselves, giving ourselves space, and understanding that we almost like we chose it?
Hmm.
So there's a reason for that. And it wasn't just to give ourselves hardship. It was like most of the time when we've gone through something like that, we can reflect on it and be like, wow, I'm so much stronger in this area of relationships, let's say, because I had someone betray me. Like, and I'm not advocating we go out there
Yeah.
and just make all the mistakes so we can learn. But if we look at the the deep desire that we have to learn, we'll see that we put ourselves in exactly the place that we need to learn something, right? And we asked for it, we chose it. And if we see that we're choosing these things, then we can see like at least what we learned, and then we can
Hmm.
see that we can choose something different in
Hmm.
the future, but yet we still retain all of the benefits that we got in going through that experience.
So it's like asking yourself, what is this experience or situation teaching me about the world and myself?
Yeah.
Of sorts. I mean, I'm a big fan of asking questions or asking the right questions, even to especially to ourselves, I would say, because um, if I can explain it in this way, it's like of an out of the body experience. So
Yes.
when you, or at least when I self reflect, I treat myself as a third party. So if
Yeah.
I were to coach myself, what would
Mm-hmm.
I say to myself? And that's very, very difficult, harder than it sounds, obviously, because we have biases and blind spots.
Yes.
So it's good that you have someone else who can guide you in that. But from a day to day or kind of good practice, I would say it's good to treat yourself as your coachee, even if you're not a coach.
Yes.
So if I was a friend of mine, what would I say to myself in this present situation?
Hmm.
Because we
No,
can
I
because
like that.
because we can always find it easier to solve others' problems. We are
Yeah.
always the best people at giving others advice, but when it comes to about us, we find it obviously difficult because we're afraid to get hurt. We're afraid. We spoke about fear as well.
Yes.
Fear holds us back in a way as well.
Yeah. I think I love what you're saying. Um, yeah. So there's this book, Michael Singer wrote a
Yeah.
book called The Surrender Experiment, and and then he also wrote a book called The Untethered Soul. So if you want to understand where he's coming from, he's definitely one of those yogi people, big time into yoga. That's where his approach is coming from. But one thing he talks about is this idea that we are not like all the voices inside of ourselves. We're kind of more like the watcher. So I
Mm,
like your idea because what you're doing is really putting yourself outside of um, yourself to a certain, like the watcher, and understanding that we're not the ego, we're not um, whatever you want to break up the
yeah.
different voices inside of
Hmm.
us. I think it's good to recognize that, like to hear all of them and not to, like for a long time when I talked about my ego, it was from a negative connotation. Now today, I feel like it's here for a reason. It's its job is to keep me safe, and it needs to be heard. And if I'm trying to say, oh no, I don't want to listen to my fears, they're just going to become stronger,
Hmm.
right? Like I need to listen to all of that, appreciate all parts of myself, and so that's why I appreciate what you said. I think that's
Hmm.
a good way of witnessing what's going on inside of ourselves
Hmm.
and hearing all those voices and not getting too standoffish, like, oh, well, I'm only going to
Hmm.
listen to this part of me because it's good and this part's not so good, right? Like it's better to have a more open conversation.
Hmm. Before we start concluding, Kevin, and on the same note, is if you were the watcher of the person that you were in your act one, what
Hmm.
would you say to yourself today?
Well, that's a good question. So, yeah, I would say you're not like, what would I say? I would tell that younger Kevin that he's more connected and more capable and more able to love than he's known so far.
Okay, it's a very introspective answer. I like that.
Yeah. I feel like that was the real big struggle is I wasn't accepting myself and wasn't appreciating myself. And that's why you have all the coping behavior,
Yeah.
right? And when we get more in touch with who we are and appreciate who we are, we're not gonna cope so much in life
Hmm.
with the other things. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Kevin, thank you for this hour and for your wisdom that you've shared with me and the audience as well. I'm glad that we finally managed to set this up
yeah,
and have this conversation. Um, uh, there are a lot of mini lessons for me, the books that you've mentioned, the the techniques and the tests that you mentioned as well. That's something that I'll definitely look into it because I would like to understand and learn
hmm,
more about the different things that you mentioned. So thank you for sharing all of that.
you are welcome. Thank you for having me on, and just like to encourage everyone as we conclude, step into something that makes you uncomfortable. Like there's so much to learn from experiences that are not comfortable. And I've learned that from coming down here to Mexico. I really appreciate the people uh, because I see in them uh, maybe easier, like the native good that's there because I'm not as attached to politics or anything else that might distract me, right? Like it's just pure as I
Mhm.
witness people as they are. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, just doesn't have to be going to another country, but do something that moves you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Try something. Just be willing to be surprised. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.